Good. Anyway, we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Yeah, welcome to Toku Portal Podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
did I dedicate? Drago.
Yeah, we're doing a weird ass podcast because, we had everything planned and then, everybody got busy. So we're just reduced to using Amazon's. So we're just reduced to using Amazon's podcast. But that's not bad. And I kind of rushed, so I just skimmed the ending, but I think I kind of know what happens. But that's a long ways away. So, what did you guys think of this movie? Oh, actually, before that. Before that, we should probably talk about have you seen the other two seasons of Amazon's?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the pre? What are your thoughts on the previous stuff? I mean, like Amazon's as a whole before this movie.
I'd say it's decent. I liked Amazon's as far as it's conceptually. I really like Amazon's execution in season two, especially the first half was kinda but otherwise it's decent. I enjoy Amazon's. The only issue I have with it is that it doesn't try to do it's nothing that that hasn't been done before. It just has a bit of gore. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. I would just say that some characters are definitely underused, but it's fun seeing a gory Kamen Rider.
I mean, my thing with that is it's not even the gore so much because I'm like, whatever, watch Garo. It's basically almost Amazon now. And it's sort of literally the Garo effect of yeah, the craziest shit happens at the beginning and the finale. Therefore, if you can handle those two episodes, most of the rest is okay. Because they're not going to waste the budget too much in the middle. Um, yeah. And again, it's written by oh, what's her name? Um,
Yasuo Kobayashi.
yeah, Kobayashi. And so her thing is she's really good at character. She's kind of not super good at plot. So that's the thing. As long as if a character you like is on screen, it's great. But the overall Amazons, it's not terrible, but it's kind of got this point of okay, yeah, we're here, but there's 100 other questions of how the world would be affected, but for the sense of the story she's trying to tell, she's basically gonna not even remotely try to explain any of that stuff. And so that's what happens. I mean, it's not bad. It's just that uh, how should I explain? Like, I guess we'll get into it once we get into this movie because it's kind of the best and the worst aspects. Whereas, this is a really solid movie. It's just in the beginning, it's yeah, these are kind of the flaws of Kobayashi's writing and sort of Japanese cinema in general being shown. Anyway, yeah, so I thought it was solid. Season two is a really weird season. Um, it's pretty solid. What so general thoughts on this movie?
Well, I really like this movie, and the biggest plus being it has all the characters I like.
Yeah.
And there's not a character I don't like in this movie, and that actually helped it make the movie a lot more enjoyable for me. Especially we didn't have Chihiro or Chihiro, who I didn't really like, and everybody else from season one was there except Mamoru, and everybody else from and all the characters from season 2 that you like are there. That's Kurosaki and his lackey.
I know.
So
Right?
it was pretty fun.
Yeah, literally the only two interesting characters in all of C4. C4 literally has like almost 10 times the staff, but like we give a shit about none of them except these two guys, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Decade?
I mean,
Oh,
and
sorry, go ahead.
oh wait, I was just gonna say, and Mizuki, but Mizuki was there in season 1 as well, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep, quite a lot of them died in season 2, though.
I mean, a lot of them died in season 1 also, but like they weren't the extermination squad, so like they weren't supposed to survive most of the fights anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would say, yeah, the characters are great. Misuki, actually, I didn't really like her character much in season 2 because it just felt like she was just kind of just indecisive and just there. But I'm glad that she finally made a choice in this movie. So, yeah, I liked the character a lot in this. And just the action was pretty good. It definitely made up for the kind of anticlimactic ending of season 2.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Season 2 is ending. Yeah, you're right. It was super like cliffhanger. Like, okay, well, that was a side story this whole season, pretty much. Uh, I mean, I guess at least we got Banjo. Well, it's not Banjo. I guess he was the the guy who plays Banjo was also in Amazon season 2, and he did like a much better job acting because he actually got scripts. Uh, unlike in Build. Um, but that being said, this movie was pretty good. With like yeah, as you guys said, like basically all the important characters came back. Um, and that kind of really elevated it. Um, but like my one problem I did have the movie was like the beginning. Because it was all just set up and it's like really contrived setup and then the heroes just leave. It's like, oh, this horrible shit's happening. It's like they can see it and then they're like at the they leave. I'm like, what the fuck? Um, yeah, it's mostly because like I was like, okay, that's a weird solution. Then I'm like, maybe it's just because it's Japanese cinema and that's sort of how Japan rolls. Like this movie's beginning is literally the most how can I say the most Japanese, but it's basically got like if this was like an episode and we split this movie into episodes, episode one would have been like, like the first third or whatever, and it would have been so like okay, yeah, the heroes didn't do anything because it was the most Japanese thing to do, nothing. Because they're like, oh, well, we can't do anything because everybody agrees it's for the greater good. And like, well, they're saying they're okay with it, therefore it can't be too bad. I was like, what the fuck? And then the movie kind of addresses it where it's like, yeah, it's this whole Japanese thing of like being like, the greater good, and it's kind of stupid. But whereas like yeah, this would never happen in like a Western movie. It's because like Western culture is more like individualistically focused. So it'd be like, yep, I don't give a shit if it's for the greater good. You guys are idiots, and the other guys are assholes. I'm gonna put an end to this shit. Um, but then again, like the movie kind of addresses that also, where it's like, well, yeah, you can be individualistic, but like just as this is an extreme of the greater good, and like do what the group says is bad, like if you're so stuck up your own ass, simple minded, and like single minded, like is really horrible also. So it kind of shows like that's kind of a good thing of this movie. Literally trying to view every extreme, like every version, like every argument gets a counter argument. It's all like, oh yeah, you thought it was so simple, you know? Right? Like, how do you find heroics? That's what I kind of love about Amazon. Is like, it's not even the gore and shit. It's so unclean because it's like, yeah, guess what? If we ever wound up in this horrible situation, like in black and white situation, it's so like unclean and gritty, where it's like, okay, well, yeah, you can have your ideals, but like eventually you're gonna run into like the exact opposite, or like you're gonna run into a situation where your ideals get like questioned heavily. And like this movie is pretty much just like an exploration of all of that. It was pretty great. Yeah, that's just me generally speaking. Like, what did you guys think of like the overall like way this movie was done and whatnot?
Uh, for me, I since I think that's because I also live in I'm mostly brought up in the Eastern culture. So the first half was kind of like I understood
No, no,
it.
I
Like
understand too because like yeah, I kind of have that background thing too of like Asian cultures tend to have these. Actually, it's not even an Asian culture thing. It's also more of like if you're just a secluded island nation, so it's like yeah, where it's like okay, do what's for the group, before you do what's for you, best for you. So
yeah,
go ahead, I cut you off.
okay, yeah. So basically, I was the one thing that I found a bit contrived was the fact that when Haruka looks out of the thing and at that exact moment he happens to notice the other guy disposing of the clothing, and that one I kind of found it was really too contrived. But other than that, to get from point A to point B, that was fine. Otherwise, like I really enjoyed the back and forth between I enjoyed Haruka in this movie a lot more than I enjoyed him in both season 1 and season 2, because I think he has been in those 2 seasons that he has developed a he has developed a lot, and we have a solid understanding of his character. So in this movie, you don't have to wait to do that, and that's what I really like about this movie, especially with Haruka. And you also get to do that same thing with Jin. So I enjoyed this movie, that aspect of the movie a lot. I also enjoyed the fights in this movie, especially you see the C4 people and the R extermination people being really effective at killing Amazons. I mean, compared to both the previous seasons, they have, it feels like they have improved.
Well, technically,
And
like
also the
yeah, technically, Extermination Squad's been fighting like Amazons for like 7 years now. So like they were pretty damn good in season one with like 7 years plus, right?
yeah, and also the fact that I enjoy what do you call it yeah, I enjoyed the gunfighting, especially in this movie. That was a surprise. And also I like the kind of religious cultist kind of vibe that this was giving with this movie had going on. I think it was criticizing the collective collective how many of
Mindset.
the when you have faith in something, it's like, and you collect to have that faith, and then it kind of gets super creepy later on.
Well, yeah, it's basically a
You
cult
and
anyway, so
yeah, it's basically a the cult aspect I really enjoy. I really like how you can't actually escape brainwashing, or when if you have been brought up in a certain way, and it takes a lot of effort, and for one of your people themselves to tell you it's wrong to actually change your mind. It kind of happened too fast at the end, but it's a movie, so you can give it a pass. And also, I did enjoy the suit design of Neo Alpha, with him being human and his suit being more mechanical than the rest. And instead of them using their violent And he had also, I really found the chainsaw Gatling thing, like the extreme version of like it was a bit too extreme, the weapon, but it works. And yeah, I thought that the ending of this movie was like, I like this, and like I think that it was really good for them to like have kind of not do the thing that Drive did, which I was pissed about it, Drive. But here I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be pissed if they did that, but since they didn't do it, I'm a lot more happy. So yeah, I did really enjoy this movie.
Okay, thoughts, Decade?
Yeah, I would agree with the setting was pretty interesting, and the whole brainwashing. I mean, it did only make sense that Muku would kind of wake up, but whatever. We gotta save the kids, although not all of them were saved. That was pretty brutal.
That was pretty
Yeah.
insane.
But yeah, Neo Alpha was pretty badass, and man, the way he went out was unexpected. But Jin is the best.
Jin is amazing. You know what? I love this movie is basically an answer to all those assholes in like okay. Uh Not naming names. But people in certain forums who are like, yes, Jin's perfectly correct. Kill all the Amazon. I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, how does that even work? What? Because they eat humans? I'm like, one, they just need protein. They don't even have to eat humans, right? Like most of the time, like these people, one, like by accident became Amazons, right? In both seasons. Two, like it's been shown multiple times. The first time you turn into an Amazon, you basically lose control of your fucking mind because you're so hungry, right? So like, yeah. And then once you eat a human, it's kind of hard to go back. So it's like, yeah, if we just help these people, gave them protein, they'd be perfectly fine. But like this whole franchise, like, yeah, humans are assholes. Like we made this problem instead of fixing it, we're just gonna kill them all because we think that's the solution. And then like this movie is like the exact opposite, where it's like Amazon's eating humans, it's humans eating Amazon. So it's like this movie is literally just like a reversal of everything, and it's kind of great because it shows like yeah, it's like okay, fine, right? You think it's okay to just start killing people because they do this? It's like what about the humans in this movie then? Right? No trial, no nothing, just murder them all. You know? And it's like, oh man, this movie does such great shit. Especially with the cult stuff. I mean, especially in Japan, man. Uh, because like Japanese cults were fucking insane for a while. Because it goes from like Akira to freaking like Evangelion to basically like the 2000s. Like in the last maybe like decade, it's kind of calmed down. But that's because, like, the last time a cult did something insane is like they fucking pretty much, uh, you know, released a bio weapon in a goddamn subway train or line. Yeah, whatever. Like, hundreds of people got sick. Like, I'm not sure if people died. Probably some people died. Um, yeah, it's pretty insane. So yeah, cults are like, if you put them in Japanese shit, it's gonna hit so much harder. I also kind of like, well, not like, but it was kind of very interesting. Well, I like how they did it in the movie. I don't like what happens in the movie, but um, when they're showing like how, oh, humans were running out of meat, which is fucking stupid, but okay, like, isn't like cultured meat actually hitting the store shelves this year or something, which is, fucking awesome, I guess. I mean, if you eat meat. But then again, we're probably gonna have fucking assholes bitch about it like they bitch about GMOs. We're not getting into politics, but it's fucking stupid. Like, Right. So the point is, this movie is like we're running out of meat, therefore we need a new meat source. Again, like just create cultured meat, which is like you're literally just growing tissue, muscle tissue, which is what meat is, which is what most people eat, right? But it's like, no, let's just make a whole organism. And then like later on when they're like killing the kids or whatever and eating them, you see how fucking wasteful they are. Like half their plate's not even done. They basically don't even eat most of the person. Just toss it aside. It's like, oh, this is waste. I'm like, oh my God. It's like commentary on how wasteful like human beings are at like restaurants and things like that. It's like, oh wow, we're actually discussing like all of it. I was like, that was a nice bit that they added. Um, as for Neo Alpha, that was interesting to be honest. I mean, he's what like the uh fifth? Oh,
Fifth
fifth.
Amazon
Yeah,
rider.
fifth. That's what I was thinking. Because there's just like weirdo Amazons that are under control, but yeah, fifth Amazon rider. Um, it's weird that Jin kicked his ass, but I'm like, to be fair, at this point, Jin probably for like every single day, it's like, I don't give a shit if I die. I'm gonna take this asshole down. Plus, Jin's always been crazy and he's always been really good at fighting, so I'm like, okay, I could see it. And yeah, and then like the first thing, it's like, okay, yeah, his chainsaw Gatling arm is pretty tough. So that's the first thing we got to take out. And like that's what this is the first thing Jin takes out, and then he's pretty much nothing. I'm like, okay, yeah, that was a good plan. Oh, okay, it's not a good plan. It was a good strategy, but like, holy shit, man, that was so risky. But then again, it's always shown that like Alpha and Omega have like insane regenerative ability, so I guess it makes sense. Um, yeah, fights wise, it was great. Like the fucking gunning down of children was super unexpected, but I'm like, fuck it, it's a V cinema. Right? Well, actually, no, it's not a V cinema. This actually came out in theaters.
Yeah.
uh, you know what the funniest part is? Like knowing that fucking like Amazon, like Omega and Neo had a crossover with were in the crossover movie. It's like the dumbest thing, right?
Yeah, they were in two superhero titans: Amazon, Omega, Alpha, and Neo.
Oh, Alpha was there. Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's so dumb. Like at this point, they fit so much closer into the Garo universe than like normal Rider. It's so damn weird. I kind of like it though, but yeah, again, it's really weird. Um, yeah. So, do you guys want to go? Hmm, what's next? Tachibana, I guess. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Tachibana deserved what he got at the end, but even that was like pale in comparison what he actually should get.
Yeah.
Because that guy needs to be. That guy got a legal notice from Nozoma. Okay, yeah, and he got shot by the Fosi,
See,
Kurosaki.
yeah. My problem is like what like literally short of killing that guy, like what could we possibly do that wasn't done to him in like season 2?
Yeah, that's also true.
That's kind of the problem.
I just want. Yeah, I think that shooting him in the head would have been the best best option, but I doubt Kurosaki wants to go to prison.
Yeah, but I think they were kind of going for the point of like he's this big bad villain guy, but at the end of the day he's just a fucking asshole in a suit, and that's basically his whole character is like yeah, he has power and he does crazy shit, but he's still like the most like normal human being. He's just a corrupt douchebag, right? Because like everybody else is fucking insane, right? Like you have the two guys from like C4 who like Captain I couldn't give a shit and IT guy like fuck it I'm too lazy to care. Um right? You have like the previous two bosses who are straight up crazy or mostly crazy, right? You have
Yeah.
Extermination Squad who are like probably the most moral human beings in this show at this point, which is like the weirdest fucking thing because they've killed like hundreds of people, or I guess Amazons, but whatever. Um, like you have the grunts for C4, but like none of them ever get development, so they nobody cares, right? Then you got like the leads, and they've got like this whole like gray morality thing going on, where it's like, Jin, I made the Amazon, so I'm gonna get rid of them. Oh, Haruka, like I want to protect people, but what if people are killing innocent Amazons? Well, then I want to protect the Amazons. Like, eh, right? Like his whole thing of like I just want to be the good guy. Like Amazons kind of shows how hard that actually is in this world, you know? Like imagine if the Grongi weren't all evil, right? Like that's basically what he has to deal with. Or I guess it's sort of more like the unknown and Agito situation, right? Like if you kind of mix those two and we're like, okay, here, kid, go be a common writer in this. It's like, what do you do, right? I mean, like the closest thing is like maybe Fives, right? And even in Five,
Yeah.
yeah, even in Fives, it's pretty fucking gray, like what the right choices are, right? Um, anyway, right. Any other thoughts, or should I move on to a different thing?
It's fine.
Okay.
Decade.
I'm thinking that even though he just got shot in the leg, he's probably going to go to jail. But I'll never know. Because what he did was pretty damn messed up. I don't think they would just let him limp away.
Well, they're not gonna let him limp away, but yeah, he's probably getting thrown in jail for sure. Um, which is the weirdest thing, but whatever. Um, right, next character. So, I guess we can go like there's the kids at actually there's like two groups of kids, right? Um, right, like the oh, fuck it. Let's just go closest moving on. All right, so next group, the two guys from C4. What did you think of them in this movie?
Mm, I really actually at first they are just cool characters from season 2, like the one I actually enjoyed watching. In this movie, there were more of that, but at the end when Fuku and this one Fuku talks to Kurosaki, the main the
Yeah.
guy who doesn't care much. Yeah, so basically he talks to Kurosaki and he said like he tells Kurosaki that even if you kill Alpha and Omega, this shit was done by a boss. And then he like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And that was pretty funny personally to me. And then the other guy just there, but he's fun. So it's not much character to him actually, but so that's fine.
I love how there's like so little character we don't even know his name. Then again, like it's been a while, so I don't remember most people's names. Um, but yeah, like my one problem in this movie was like, okay, Kurosaki at the end of like season 2 of Amazon's kind of walks off, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna go like try to live my fucking life now, you know, because that's basically like what the end of Amazon's 2 kind of shows. Like, doesn't fucking matter what you are, you know, like everybody tries to survive and live. Like, what are you living for, right? Like, use your time wisely. I thought that was kind of the message, and I thought he finally got it, and so he like moves on, and then like he shows up as the boss of C4. I mean, they say it's been 2 years, so maybe it didn't work out. Like he tried to go like good, uh, and then he just came back to being part of C4. But like, you know, I wish there was something more to that guy in this movie, but there isn't. I mean, they were still fun to see. Thoughts, Decade?
Yeah, he's just an antagonizing guy. But I did like that he got to kill an Amazon on his own. That was pretty badass. Even though, sadly, they're just kids.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Oh well, crazy movie.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he's killed Amazons before, but like, I, it's mostly because these Amazons are so different. He keeps getting like blood on him, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna fucking change any second now. I'm like, oh no, that's like season one, season two Amazon. No, season one Amazons.
Season 1 Amazons.
Yeah, season two they're different. Um, yeah, that was so weird. Next group, I guess, Extermination Squad. What did you think of them in this movie?
Yeah, I enjoyed watching Extermination Squad again, especially with the Nozomi and her like saying of hand-to-hand combat. I really like that her using knives and then the blades on her hand. Like for a second, that looked like Wolverine's adamantium claws, and I thought that was
Oh, I
super
know
cool.
exactly, right? When they stop fighting, when C4 shows up, right? I was like, when the
Yeah.
fuck did you get that? That's great.
Okay, and then again, and I really enjoyed, especially Fuku, like them talking to the Fuku and wait, I forgot the guy without the arm, the guy whose arm got bit.
Yeah, I know. It's like M something. I don't remember. I don't have a name list or anything of characters right now. That's why.
Yeah, Fuku and the boss, and I kind of blank out on the names right now. It's been a while.
Yeah, same thing.
But yeah, I really enjoyed them, like as far as like them interacting and how the guy without the arm said it's not wrong to eat, and then because yeah, that's true, because Amazons are actually are legitimate species of animals now, and if we can eat other animals, if other animals can eat other animals, we should be Amazons should be able to eat as well, and that kind of like, and it's not wrong to do so, and that are really like cement, like it was a nice development from season 1 to season 2 to now.
Yeah. I mean, like, the only thing with that arm scene was, like, it was good, but I'm like, we're just redoing this again. But I'm like, realistically, like, that's probably what that character would have done, so it made sense. Yeah. Thoughts, Decade? Decade? Nothing? Alright. Maybe he's busy. I don't know.
Humans that can actually accept Amazons for who they are, and didn't get to happen. And who knows with the way this. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, sorry, dude. You kind of just cut out. Could you just repeat that?
Oh, okay. I just said that they're like a good example of humans that can accept the Amazons for who they are and live alongside them. And that's pretty much what Mizuki is going to be doing, but sadly those kids had to die because they went Amazon and the extermination people showed up. 24.
Let's see for yeah, I know that was kind of sad. I was like, oh, maybe we'll save them or something, and then fuck. Yeah, I think that's kind of the problem. I mean, not the problem. That is just the bad luck of the extermination squad. Is like they always get crushed. They always get stuck having to deal with like the most morally gray situations where it's like, well, if a writer was here, he might be able to block this off and like maybe break this fight up somehow. But like, they're just human beings, right? Like either the Amazons are gonna fucking kill them, or C4 is gonna shoot them, or something's gonna happen if they try to fucking break this fight up. So they're just trying to survive. And like once it's all over, they're kind of like really fucking pissed and sad that like they had to do all this shit. But it's like, yeah, that's pretty much their life now. It kind of sucks, but what are you gonna do, right? Yeah, I really actually kind of wish those kids would have survived. But then again, like maybe the problem would have been like, okay, then what does Mizusawa do then at the end? But I'm like, there's no reason like she and and those kids couldn't have taught the new kids, right? But then I guess we would have had more. We would have had to have more kids survive. Oh, I know, shocker, right? Let's kill less children. Movie. No, we have to basically murder a whole school. But yeah, that was weird. Um, as for like the team, the extermination squad themselves, like yeah, I wish Fugo got to do more, but like he's like my favorite, so I always wish he gets to do more. Then again, like pretty much none of them got too much to do, but like they had good scenes. Like they each kind of got one scene to shine, pretty much. But like they didn't have that much to do. I guess it's because it's a movie. There's only so much time, right? Um, but otherwise, yeah, they were really solid. They're freaking pretty much the best damn characters in this show. They continue to be the best damn characters in this show or movie or franchise. Well, I guess it's over now. Um, anyway, so Extermination Squad done. What do you think of like the old man and the old chief? What do you think of those two?
Nothing much actually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like they barely do anything in this. I mean, like the old man kind of has this speech. I'm like, okay, while I'm watching this, I'm like, you kind of have a point, but not really. But then again, like you're probably like the best version of great leader we've ever had. So I kind of let it pass, where it's like you're just the right amount of crazy, but you're also smart enough not to fuck up your own plans by getting in there. You just kind of let shit play out. So you are basically the best version of the great leader. But yeah, they didn't really do too much in this movie. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, the greatest thing
Yeah.
about the old man is that he pretty much just pretends that he has nothing to do with the orphanage. He's like, oh, I've just heard some rumors. And then in the end, he's eating some suspicious meat.
Yeah,
So, of course, he was behind the whole thing.
That's probably true. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, they're making it so like, okay, you decide what he's actually eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, knowing that guy probably he had something to do with it. That's kind of great, right? Like this whole fucking franchise is meat. What is it? Who gets to eat it? And it ends with this old geezer eating suspicious meat. What is in the mystery meat? Theorize. That's great. Yeah, so I guess that's done. I kind of just remembered. I kind of love like the C4 guy. I got, oh, why are you here? Oh yeah, I'm just chief now. That's why. And the other guy is like, yeah, I kind of admire your ambition. That you did all this just to become chief. I'm like, yeah, I love this like room full of four people, and this will get my career high enough. So I'll just tag along pretty much and just strike when I get the best chance. And then you have like crazy, super ambitious scientist lady who kind of overreached and now is kind of blacklisted almost, but she still has a lot of power if she really wants to use it. And this crazy fucker who was just there at the right time. But out of the room full of crazy people, he's the most normal. So his plans are, I'm just going to become greedy and try to rule the world with money. And it's like, yeah, okay, you're in a room full of crazy people. That's going to go so far, but it'll run into a brick wall pretty soon. And it's like, yeah, you have power until somebody shoots you. Then what are you going to do? Like, okay. Because, like, everybody else has power, but they can do other shit. He just has power at the moment. You know? So it kind of just reminds me of
Yeah.
that. It kind of just reminds me of that thing where shit, was it like Littlefinger or Varys says to Cersei, it's like words of power or something, and then like Cersei basically tells one of her guards and like has him draw a sword on the other character, and it's like no, power is power. You know, like words and all this other shit that looks like power is good until like it comes to violence, and then like all of that crap breaks down. Right. So that was pretty interesting. Um, yeah. So I guess we're done with those characters. So next batch, we'll do like Alpha and Omega at the end. Let's just move on to the orphanage gang. Going out, moving in. What did you think of like the kids who ran away?
Um, the acting was pretty good for them. I did. They are not annoying. They didn't overstay the welcome. They were decent. Like they were like you could see the survival instinct in them, so they acted well enough. And I really enjoyed the interactions with the extermination squad. And yeah, that was pretty good. The kids, like I forgot her name. The Muku.
Yeah.
Okay, the girl Muku. I liked her actor especially well. She got the creep factor, like of a person in a cult and a person who had just been like woken up pretty down, and I really liked what she was, how she portrayed her character. It's pretty nice. Like I could see, like I could have seen, like at least what do you call it? And the way she went out was, well, we'll talk that in Omega, but yeah. Otherwise, I did enjoy her, and even the little kid who freed Alpha from his confinement. He was also decent. I didn't find him any annoying. I don't know, but they got pretty good child actors in this movie.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah, especially because for Muku, it's not like the writer shows up, gives a speech, and she wakes up. It took until the very last second when she finally realized that she wanted to live. So yeah, that was really good twist in her character.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Like like I said, this movie does a really interesting job of like there's no like clear answers or good guys or bad guys for the most part. I mean, I guess there are, but like nobody's clean, right? Like everybody did something that's messed up. It's very like Fies-ish, where it's like if all the characters on screen are not like there's no innocent person, right? Like if somebody fucked up somewhere. Like everybody's done that. That's like basically the main cast. Um,
And
right?
I was gonna add to that. It also shows that being a cult and everything else is fine, but until the last moment of your life, you really want to live, even if you die for everything that you stand for. You live, like the instinct of living automatically hits you at the last moments of death, and that was really interesting. That I thought with Muku.
Yeah, that was actually really well done. Like, yeah, I agree. Her acting, um, at first I thought it was a little stiff, but I'm like, she's just playing the type of character that they wanted. But then, like later on, as the movie goes on, like, yeah, she can really act. So that was pretty good. As for the rest of them, yeah, like the kids who ran away, that you run into with the extermination squad, they did actually a really good job, to be honest. Like I would have stuck around, but then again, like again, if it was a season or something, I bet they probably would have. But it's a movie, so it's like we gotta just, we don't have time. We gotta deal with them somehow. Um, I think like one of the best aspects was that like, oh, you get their backstory, and then it cuts to that fight that Neo Omega and Neo Alpha hard against like the two rando Amazons that just showed up. And like it puts that into context of oh fuck. Like you guys were actually the bad guys in that fight, right? Like we thought you were the heroes, but you guys were actually the villains in that fight, and that was so good. Of like tying that random fight back in. That's what I kind of miss, man. Like watching Zio is just like, okay, this is a show. Things happen. Life goes on, kind of. It's like, all right, it's just bare minimum. Whereas like this is like, yeah, remember when Ryder used to do shit like this? I mean, like you don't need the gore and stuff too much, but like actually getting like, morally gray characters or tying stuff together where it's like, oh, you thought you did this, but it actually was this. Like if you even had like 10% of this, it would be a way more interesting show. But like maybe we'll get it down the line. Then again, like everything tying really nicely might have something to do with like didn't like the guy who wrote X8 also work on this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might have.
Uh, yeah, him and Kobayashi both were like the people who were working on this.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome team. I mean, this movie is fucking amazing, so it's like that was probably the best team to get then. Um, yeah, Decade, your thoughts? Or unless you already gave your thoughts. I guess you did. My bad. Unless you were gonna add something else.
Yeah, just overall, the writing was pretty good, and yeah, the the orphanage was it's just it adds a lot more weight when you're using kids as the subject of your moral debate. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Um, at first I was like, okay, maybe they're just harvesting their organs or something, right? So we're basically getting the island, um, sci-fi movie called The Island. Anyway, um, but yeah, this was much worse. So that was interesting, I guess. Right. I guess we've got like
It's Haruka, Jin, and Mizuki. Mizuki
yeah.
was fine.
That's what I was thinking.
And then she.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just saying she's the least like interesting character again, but I'm not that any that she is saying that she's like a chore to watch. She's a bad character, but it just there's not much to her other than the fact that she protect her brother, which is admirable, and I do enjoy that. But other than that, she didn't have do much except at the end, like only person who actually 100% believed in Amazon, in her brother to live, for her to live, and she ends up taking care of the kids at the orphanage, and she's the most suited for the job, and that I really liked in this movie. And that's about it. And I liked her actor as well. She does a good job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like especially because like at first when you meet her character, I mean, it's basically like she's kind of like this abandoned child almost, right? So like at the end of her like going through all this shit, I think yeah, she probably would be a really good caretaker because like, she's been through all the bad, so she knows like what not to fucking do. So that's pretty cool. Um, what about you, Ducky? Thoughts?
Yeah, I think I said
Okay.
my thoughts on her, but what she did in the end was pretty noble. So yeah, that made me like her a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. That was a great thing for her to do. Um, all right. So next thoughts, Neo Alpha. What did you guys think of that guy?
Well, yeah, the actor was good in portraying like a cult figure, and he was also like when he was like when he fought and in his rider, so he was pretty cool to look at and cool to like see, and then also the fact that he put like when he was his interaction with Jin, especially like how that he is the new progenitor of like how Alpha is the reason why is because he is the one who created the Amazons. So this new Amazons, a new set of Amazons that they created from Jin's blood, the new Alpha is the one who gives birth to a new species of Amazons.
Yeah,
which is pretty like that's a pretty nice parallel, and how and how even Jin calls him out like even without me you can't do shit, and but and then the guy is that the human mind by using the human mind I can put your like the thing that you want to discard to like good use, and the way he went out, like he basically calling out to Jin's what do you call it, morality, kind of was pretty. And then the way he went out was I really like that.
Yeah, he was pretty interesting. I mean, he's kind of basically like well, I guess he is the main like evil writer for this movie, so I guess it does make sense. Like, he's basically like the pinnacle of like human like exceptionalism. And I don't mean like exceptionalism is like being good, but it's more the whole thing of like, yeah, there are rules, except when it comes to humans. We break the fucking rules all our time when it applies to us, right? So he's like this whole elitist douchebag. There's all these horrible things, and it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't fucking matter as long as you can't hurt a human, you know? Like, do all the worst shit to everybody else as long as they're not human, right? And he's kind of just the pinnacle of that, and like I guess it is just like really the example of human exceptionalism, where it's like he's super smart, he must have had money or something or funding to run all this shit. um he seems to like to help people like he could, but then like he did the thing of like, yeah, you know this is all fucked up, but hey, at least it's not a human, right? So who cares? And it's like then he just let his ego and everything run to his, like he's just the extremes of everything. And it's kind of just showing that it, like for this movie, I think that was like the best choice for a villain writer, and it was done really well. Thoughts, Decade?
He seems just totally not normal, but stable until the end, where you just see that he's so like narcissistic that it's if things aren't going according to his plan, then he has to just destroy everything and maybe start over. So yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I was also thinking that's more like, okay, he's just covering his bases. Like, if nobody's left alive, then they can cover this up easier, right? Because, like, well, who's gonna say, right? Like, what actually happened if nobody's left to talk? Um, but yeah, you're right. He was interesting. Um, right. So I guess we've literally got like two characters left. Right. Alpha and Omega. What did you think of them in this movie?
I loved both of them, especially like I really love like Fujita's like portrayal of Haruka, and then Masashi Taniguchi's portrayal of Jin. Especially the fact that how much guilt that Jin shares of making Amazons, and how like and how and also it continues a thing from season 2 where he considered all the Amazons as children, so it didn't matter to him that Chihiro was a thing. He killed him regardless. So he's continuing that, and then how and it shows that he is not isn't about protecting people. He doesn't mean it when he says so. He could give a less shit if people died at this point. He just wants to kill Amazons, and that I find to be and he also looks really done with life. He wanted to die, kind of thing that emotions that they showed from him, and and also the fact that it is the first time he kills, so he doesn't give a shit anymore. The reason why we know he doesn't give a shit anymore is because he literally kills a human being. He smells like an Amazon, which and then that was pretty funny. Haruka would have killed Neo Alpha, because Haruka doesn't discriminate between Amazon and human. If you're an asshole and a threat to either, you're dead, kind of thing. But Haruka does actually hold back against humans, but otherwise he also has he has that kind of principle. But Jin always had this thing of, I'm not gonna kill human beings.
Well,
now he can lose one.
Yeah.
And even and with Haruka in this movie, you see now Haruka has well grown up from his naivete
From what, season 1?
in the movie. Yeah, and also the fact that even Haruka giving it all to protect the final last bastion of whatever is left of Amazons, and even to the point that he and at the end, the fact that he actually eats a person, he eats a sentient being, as far as the one with intelligence like humans. So that was his rule, that he is not gonna eat. He eats. So both of our main characters have broken their code. So now you don't actually, now there's no I know Haruka is the model, right? And the person who who he ate was about to die, and she asked to be a part of him. But even then, now Haruka is also not clear cut like this one. And I really enjoyed the banter at the end where Haruka calls Jin out, it is just an obsession, and then he actually gives a shit about protecting people, what Jin doesn't, and that was the clear boundary between them. And so he does what he couldn't do back in season 2, which would have saved a lot of people, and that was kill Jin at the end. Because Haruka and Jin can't coexist. Because whatever Haruka protects, Jin will kill. That is the rule, at least established in Amazons. Which and this was a fun, good conclusion to him, and especially at the end where Haruka wants to commit suicide. At least that's what the movie implied. And then Mizuki voice ringing in his head, and even the will to live takes over, and he becomes basically a Showa rider,
Well,
on
just
the
takes
road.
off. Yeah. I mean,
And just takes off.
yeah. My thoughts on that, especially because he ate a person, is maybe they were also going with okay, he's not gonna go and live with the other Amazons because those Amazons have not killed anyone, right? So he doesn't want to go near them. So that might be another reason also. But I mean, yeah, he basically becomes a freaking classic writer at the end where he just takes off. Um, but yeah, they were really well done in the movie. But as you said, they both kind of break the rules in this movie, right? And at this point, yeah, Jin's just a fucking walking husk, right? He just wants either he's gonna kill everything or right. Like there's no coexistence with that guy. And again, that's been set up since like episode one, right? So it makes perfect sense. Uh, well, maybe not episode one, but like since the first time they like kind of have a fight and fall out, like this was all leading up to this, so it makes perfect sense. But yeah, they're both really well done in this movie, really well acted. Uh, man, their fights are fucking great too. Mostly like Alpha's stuff, but that's because he's got like less gimmicks. I also kind of like how like freaking that shitty ass Neo Omega belt and like form breaks down. Like I'm not the biggest fan of Omega, but like fuck Neo Omega. That was even more like bullshit. And like they fucking broke it, and then like I'm like, okay, how are you gonna fight? And then he rips off his like armband. I'm like, oh, you're just gonna go like original Amazon form. And it's like, no. So I'm like, oh right, like that's still working, so that makes sense. But then again, like his first like green pure Amazon form probably got repainted into like Sigma's form, so like Amazon number three. So that's probably why they
Yeah,
can't.
and okay. And it's also got repainted to Neo Omega. Neo Alpha, sorry.
Neo. That's what I'm like. This looks exactly like Sigma. Um, you know what the weirdest thing is? Like, I remember the trailer for this, and they're like, "Oh, we're hunting down Amazon." So like, okay, so we're doing this again. But like, maybe I was misunderstood or something. I thought there was gonna be like a team of Amazons or like something else was gonna happen. But this movie went in a whole different direction where it's like, oh, the humans are eating Amazons now. So that was interesting. Um, but yeah, as for like Haruka and Jin, like yeah, they basically did a really great made a really great conclusion to their story, and like yeah, it showed like their moralities, like where their ideals like, hit reality and it doesn't work out, or I mean it does, but like it gets really fucking messy. Um them having to deal with it and the other one calling the other one's BS of what they just did. Final throwdown. Like realistically, yeah. I mean, at this point, they're probably even in fighting strength, especially with like Haruka, eating someone so it's actually fully powered up for once. Um, but then again, like yeah, Omega was gonna win regardless because like, could you imagine a world where Jin won? Like that's basically what like that's the equivalent of fucking like
Tribes ending.
what?
Kusaka winning.
Cause no, that's not true because like Kusaka wouldn't fucking do anything. Like he would kill all the orphanaut kinda, but like he wouldn't be much of a Actually, that's not even true. He might mostly would take out any orphanaut that was like a threat to him like immediately. Like he's not a homicidal maniac. He's just a homicidal maniac to like people who are like too close to exposing his secret, or like whoever get too close to Mari because he's kind of got this like stalker thing going on. Um, yeah, I was thinking it's more like like oh shit, like I don't think anybody we've had is this bad. Where it's like even if like another like Agito one, like yeah, the writers would be gone, but like he would still like be a hero for the most part. Like as long as people didn't know his backstory, they would think he's a hero. Like insane, right? Like he would just continue to get crazier and crazier as time went on, right? Like
Yeah.
like a decade down the line, he'd just become like some fucking insane villain guy, right? So like, yeah, he had to be stopped.
That is that is if he doesn't kill himself.
Yeah, but like, I mean, are you seriously saying like in a decade from now, all the Amazons would be gone? Like,
Yeah, that's it's still a bit iffy because the reason why that wouldn't happen is because one, humans are really pieces of shit, and uh, the thing is that in biology, nothing is absolute.
Yeah, exactly. So like, they'll just keep finding ways to make more Amazon. That's the whole thing, right? Like, it's impossible to get rid of them now. Uh, yeah. Anyway, thoughts, Decky?
Yeah, it's amazing to see how they how Jin and Haruka have kind of evolved into just mortal enemies. And yeah, there's no way they could realistically coexist. Good conclusion to that. I think, let's say Jin did win and eventually killed all the Amazons. Yeah, he would probably commit suicide because all those hallucinations of Nanaha was pretty deep.
Yeah, they're pretty good, but my problem with that is like the more Gene keeps like fighting Amazons, the crazier he becomes. So like my thing is
For
like by
sure.
the end when he's done killing all the Amazons, I don't think there'd be like anything left. Like he'd just be another fucking Amazon. Right? Like we saw at the end of like season one how batshit insane he was. And that was just like a couple Amazons. Well, I mean, there were like hundreds, but he didn't kill hundreds, right? Like he was basically out of his fucking mind, especially in like season two when he loses his eyesight. Like he's just like gone almost crazy. And, like wasn't that like yeah, I what you guys have said, but I think like before he could even like he wouldn't even be in the right mindset to even do anything. I think he'd just like lose his humanity fully and just become a killing machine. Anyway, continue.
Oh, and yeah, the thing that Haruka did, eating a person. It is interesting that you pointed that out, Drago, that they both break the rules, and it's really because they want to do what they think is morally superior. Either kill a human so I can kill all the rest of the Amazons, or eat a person so I can actually heal and protect the rest of the Amazons. So yeah, that was just really good, and his choice at the end to survive and ride off into the distance was nice.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this was like a really solid movie. To be honest, like even like the beginning is the only part that kind of dragged for me, but like not even that much. Like even when I started, it's like maybe 5-10 minutes in, I was already pretty much interested in seeing the rest of this movie. Even and that's like the slowest part is the beginning. So like that should just give you the caliber of how good of a movie this is. Like we haven't had a writer movie this good in a really long time. Um, oh shit. Like the only I mean there's been a couple good ones, but like even
There
like
has been, well, okay. I mean, like this movie, even standalone, is like pretty good to watch, and that's what's surprising about it
yeah, like
compared to like Gem versus Laser, which you have to watch the movie or else it doesn't make any sense. You have to watch the show, and even well, the last time we had a good movie was Drive Surprise Future.
oh I haven't seen that. Um
Yeah, and then also Chasers.
so okay, V cinemas don't count. They're all
Okay, if
decent.
we,
But the problem with V cinemas, you have to be like pretty much fully aware of the characters. Whereas here, it's like,
yeah,
yeah, kind of, but like I think you could like that's the problem. Like out of the our podcast group, like we're the three people who've seen Amazons. So I would have liked to see like Rai or Vashi or someone who hasn't seen like the show watch the movie and tell me like how like I think it's probably pretty easy to follow. Right? Like maybe the only confusing thing is like oh who is this weirdo old man and who is this lady and like okay I guess Tachibana is running some evil corporation I guess. I mean like Tachibana is probably like the least hard to understand person. Um, maybe like s- understanding where the fuck C4 comes into play and understanding like the old man and her might be hard to get like if you don't know Amazons. But like all you really have to get is like yeah they used to exist here. They're evil powerful business people. And C4 is like an anti-Amazon task group, you know. Um, but yeah, I guess like you wouldn't get some of the emotional impact, like maybe like oh like all the Mamoru stuff that's like alluded to. But I think like you know for the most like you could get like 75% of this movie to 80, maybe 85 to 90 with a little wikiing or something. Like you could get at least like 80% of the impact of this movie coming in fresh, I would think. What do you guys think?
Well, the character stuff and all, I would have back, like, with Haruka when he commits suicide and Jin and Nahana's relationship, those stuff, you have to watch the previous movies to actually do that. But the rest of the movie, like, as far as, like, the wanting to survive and everything else, all those things, but that's pretty universal. So I would say it would about 60 to 70%. I think 70% would be like the
Yeah,
best number for this movie. Like,
that's a good point because like I didn't factor in like the Nanaha stuff because otherwise like if you don't know Amazon you're like who is this random chick, right? Like why does she keep showing up? Like I was weirded out watching it. I was like, why are you here? You're freaking dead, right? Like why are you showing? I was like, oh right, he's like hallucinating super hard. Um, so I guess that made sense. Anyway, final thoughts.
uh, great movie. I have seen it twice because I enjoyed it a lot, and I really like the song "Eat Kill All" by Project R, and it's like as far as music goes, like ending songs go, Amazon has pretty. All three of them are pretty good, and yeah, how like at least as far as
Drago? What the technical difficulties, people.
It's a good ending to at
Okay,
least
so
the stories of these
uh,
characters.
one sec, guys. Could you just repeat what you just said? My connection dropped out, so like I couldn't hear what you guys were saying.
okay, what I was saying is that this is a really good. If I'm even if I'm like fond of entire Amazons, I like the show a lot, but like it's not like one of my favorite Rider seasons. But this movie is actually has become one of my favorite Rider movies, and like there's a nice little bow to tie to Amazons, even if they make a season 3. Like I wouldn't mind, because I mean, it's been rumored because some set photos got leaked with Amazon, the bike of Amazon seen in some sort of filming, which is what that's since either he's gonna show up in Zio or it's gonna be Amazon season 3. So that is there, and the second thing is that yeah, and that's about it. I really enjoyed the movie. Like I would say, I would recommend anyone has seen Amazon season 1 and season 2, even if you have not seen season 2, you can straight away jump to this movie and then, pick up from there. Because this movie is really good.
Yeah, that's true. It just feels satisfying as an ending to all the characters and their stories. So even if they do continue and it's not great, I'll be okay with it because this was pretty definitive.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know. I mean, why? It might be just like like Amazon, like the website is probably throwing so much money at Toei maybe that they're like, okay, we might do a season 3, even though like the whole reason they did the movies is because like the superhero Tyson show ended, so they're like, we had this Amazon thing. It's kind of popular, not super popular, but we can make it into a movie. So they made this movie, and it's like, yeah, it's a really good movie. Like, to be honest, like most writer movies are decent, but they're like, it's not something you watch for being satisfactory. It's like, oh, it's a fun ride. Whereas this is like, no, this is actually really good. So like, I wanted to rewatch it like almost right away. So that's impressive. Um, but yeah, like if they continue, I think I'll be okay, depending on which direction they go. Like at this point, yeah, like Haruka kind of is just like a show writer ish. Um, we can have like other like maybe they'll turn it into like a like double type thing where it's like uh, the Amazons are kind of more like a Foundation X thing going on where it's like different sections had like different experiments or whatever. So yeah, like there's potential for more stories, but it's like if they do or if they don't, or if they continue and they fuck it up, like this movie is so well done, you can just basically use it as like a definitive conclusion to the show, which I'm okay with.
Mm.
Um,
And like and even if you like really really like at least there's one option out there if you want to like if you have not season 1 and season 2 and don't want to waste a lot of time. There is the Amazon season 1 which has been condensed into a movie, and even Amazon season 2 which has been condensed to a movie, so you can watch all 3 movies back to back, and that would pretty much give you a 100 good solid conclusion. So you can avoid all the messy stuff in season 2 because I heard the cut is really good. Season 2 and the season 1 cut also, they just cut out one thing I'm really disappointed by is that they cut out the Sigma part, but Sigma is not that important to the story, so it's fine. But so you can watch these 3 and you can be pretty satisfied with it, I would say.
yeah, that's cool. I didn't even know that they made like compilation movies, but I guess like it makes sense because like Japan has a tendency to do that. Um, Especially because like yeah, as you said, like they're releasing a third one and it's a movie, so like if somebody hasn't seen it, they're not gonna sit through 2 seasons. Like even though the seasons
Yeah.
aren't that long, making them into movies is fine. Especially for season 2, where it's like half of it's like, yeah, it's here, but it's not necessary. Season 1, maybe you could cut out like a third of it, so like yeah, it makes sense. Like if you cut out Sigma 2, so you could like maybe cut out close to half, but like you'll definitely need more than season 2. Uh, I mean, at least yeah, at least they made good compilation movies. Go ahead.
Yeah, at least from what I've heard, that the theaters where they were airing Amazon season 3, they just aired Amazon season 1 and 2 as movies back to back. So like you won't be lost when you see. And I think like the only other and that is there. And I really like that kind of model. Like Garo uses this model a lot because they air a lot of some of the episodes in theaters for a limited time. And even like Zero Black Blood was released as a movie first, like 2 movies, and yeah, so I wouldn't mind like Kamen Rider trying this more experimental stuff like Amazon, since like the show tends to play it safe.
Well, the difference
This
is,
this is
yeah, the difference is with like that in Kamen Rider is like Kamen Rider is a Toei property. Toei actually owns their own theater chains. They don't have to condense shit. So like their problem is like they would rather release like a summer movie than an Amazon's movie because like a summer movie is like yeah, it looks flashy, but realistically it's just a lot of shit that's rehashed and thrown together. Whereas like Amazon's like you have to actually go to like different locations and shoot a lot of extra stuff like like a movie. So like it's a lot more work. Um but like yeah, I mean they could do it if they wanted to, but we're talking about Toei here. Like the kings of fucking laziness. Like literally the company that has an app with like writer shit on it, right? And then goes to Twitter and says like, yeah, the West doesn't have a writer fan base, therefore we're not releasing anything. It's like, oh my god, man. Like these idiots have no idea what they're doing. Right? Like it's
yeah.
that's the problem. Like literally every other tokusatsu franchise, all the big ones, right? Like okay, there are four big ones now, right? You got Ultraman, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Garo, right? Okay, Super Sentai and
Yeah.
Kamen Rider are owned by Toei.
Toei.
Guess what? Like, Sentai's not coming over here because Power Rangers,
No,
right?
no. Wait, I have to correct you on that. Sentai is in West. Shark Factory released DVDs of every season, like from Jetman, Jew Ranger, Die Ranger. I think they have started releasing it.
Yeah,
So that is
I heard the subs aren't the greatest, but like, fuck it, at least you're getting something.
yeah. Ultraman, and Garo are there in the West. Like you can find the DVDs. Since Subaraya won against the court case, so now they are free to release their stuff in the West. And so Ultraman and Garo are also available.
Yeah, plus they
Kamen
simul.
Rider.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
especially because like for Garo and Ultraman, they simulcast stuff. They translate into like they know there's a fucking audience. Like they know how to use it. It's so stupid. And then like it comes to like Kamen Rider, like they literally know Power Rangers sells, therefore Sentai will sell. But they refuse. Like yeah, and therefore Shout Factory is releasing the DVDs. Right? Kamen Rider, literally nothing. Oh, we had a bad Saban adaptation. Oh, we had an interesting Ryuki adaptation. Let's go with that. Like,
yeah, I would say like okay, which got fucked over by what do you call it? 4Kids. Because the CW liked it, but 4Kids didn't. Since 4Kids and CW were the same thing back then. Ugh.
yeah. My thing with that is like, here's the thing. It's basically costing them nothing. Why aren't you running the old shows? Right? Like, you don't have to release the new shit. Like, literally just sell the old shows. That's what everybody wants. Like, you don't have to sell Showa, right? Like, early Heisei is basically considered to be the best period of Kamen Rider, right? Like, isn't that like general universal consensus at this point? Right?
Depends. Because even the post-decade Heisei, I would say the only bad season is Ghost. Everything else is debatable.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, I don't know. I mean, the problem is like they're good writer shows, or I mean, they're decent writer shows, but like early Heisei is like they're just good shows. It doesn't matter which franchise. Like you could stack this against anything and they would hold up for the most part, right? Like,
Again,
I mean, like
I have my arguments, but it's fine.
no, I know what you're saying. Like they're pretty decent, but my thing is like, okay, superhero. Okay, let's go with the closest genre, superhero to superhero genre, right? Like you can stack up early Heisei. Like it's harder to stack up post-decade Heisei because it's so damn commercialized because of what fucking Bandai is pulling.
Yeah. I can understand that part, and I'm just saying, as far as shows go, yeah, but yeah, the commercialization kind of has it makes it cringy for the regular audience.
Yeah, I mean, especially because like we literally saw a movie with like almost no products in it, and it was pretty good, so like it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, okay, fine, you don't have to make a show, but like you can have a set of standalone movies, right? Like writers,
Yeah.
or like Toei desperately needs a third franchise. Like, I mean, I guess they tried to do just a movie franchise with like the Metal Heroes, but that didn't take off too much. Like, I know there's three movies, but like, I don't know. I don't know how
And
successful that is.
they even tried to reboot the Ishinomori property workout. So
Yeah, I mean, they tried with Kakaider, that didn't work, which is kind of sad to be honest. Like,
the movie was decent. So
yeah, I mean,
I would say this is pretty sad.
yeah, they should. I don't know. I think it's like this whole mentality of like, okay, this is what writer is now, and we have to keep it. Like, I guess the biggest thing is we have to wait and see what the next show is because like the
Mm.
next show could do anything because it's the first show of the new era. If it's the same as this like hyper commercialized stuff, it'd be kind of disappointing because that show has the biggest chance of like it can do anything it fucking wants. Right? Like Zio's got the anniversary done. Like we literally do not have to follow any formula at that point. Right? Like
Yeah, and
I would like it to have like less toys. Or if they have toys, just spread it around. Like fucking do the Blade thing. Right? Like technically Blade has like 52 widgets.
times four.
Well, 13 each.
52 times 4 yeah, 52 cards, yeah.
Yeah. And
So 52 cards, four belts. No. 52 cards, 3 belts, and a lot of weapons, but that's about it. 4 weapons, yeah.
yeah, I know. And like that's almost what like almost build levels. And build had like the most nonsense gimmicks, like 60 plus things, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is like you could just do it like Blade, like okay, fine, you want to keep your numbers high, fine, you can keep the numbers high. Just make it smart like Blade where it's like, all right, you beat the enemy, you get their power. There you go. It's simple. Give more people things so the power level is spread out like Blade did. It'll be okay. Then it'll be kind of like this movie where it's like, yeah, like, Neo Alpha and Neo Omega going at it. They kind of have like nonsense going at it, but because they have the same amount of stuff, it still kind of feels like an even fight. And even when it's an uneven battle, like Neo Alpha and Alpha, like Alpha wins because like he outplays Neo Alpha. That was what the interesting part was of that fight. Like, I don't know, man. Like the sad part is like whenever Toei does deliver like good stuff, you're like, why can't the rest of it be this good?
Yeah, the problem, actually, yeah, the thing is that, right, the only reason that I actually think that like if you really want to introduce like a Kamen Rider, like supposed to the for people who actually aren't like huge Tokusatsu fans but would enjoy this kind of show, is the problem here that at least I face into is that they, unless it's like the like suppose like I mean, people have, like my friends at least have gotten around to X8 after watching a lot of like double build, and I think the last thing they saw was double build and blade, like because those were kind of minimalistic and there's not much stuff.
Yeah.
And so they got around to Exit, and they were like, okay, that like they kind of were to get behind it. So, but like with really loud toy noises and a little colorful palette and stuff, so it is harder for the people. Like even if the show is good, it's harder for people to get into it because of the commercialization.
Yeah,
So I would actually
yeah,
okay.
I think
Sorry.
that no, it's fine. I think the best option for that is like maybe O's. For like I think it did the for the new formula it did it the best because like yeah, there's so much shit going on, but like okay, the heroes and the villains use the same amount of gadgets and they're not that much, they're like 30 at the most. Um
Yeah.
Plus like
I would also say
even if you're not into the power-ups, like one, the forms look pretty interesting and they're all very unique. Um but like the characters are so interesting on themselves, right?
yeah, and that's the reason why like I really think that like kind of this kind of web-based series should exist because it allows Toei to experiment with it with a smaller budget and a lot more like freedom. That's why Amazon's, even if like the story has been hit or miss, has been like decent. Like I would say, like I could just watch this or show this to my friends, and they wouldn't like you wouldn't cringe from the inside, like watching this thing. Like especially like in the stuff like Gaim or what do you call it? XA, like you hear the loud toy noises, and it kind of like makes it a bit cringy, I would say. But I mean, again, it's a tokusatsu, and then people would be, I mean, after
Yeah,
we say like it's just a tokusatsu.
my only problem with that, I mean that is a very good point. My only problem is like the fucking semi-elitism that like Tokusatsu fans had, like who were like, "Oh, look at this fucking try hard shit, Amazon's like it's fucking trash. Look at this filter; it makes it look like shit." And they saw like maybe one episode from season one, and they've never picked it up. Like that kind of annoys me because like I literally know at least a couple people who have done that. I'm like they constantly bash on Amazon. I'm like, have you even watched the fucking show? Like as much as I bash on fucking Gaim, I at least watched like a third of that piece of shit. And to be fair, like yeah, I was a little harsh on it because like everybody was super into Gaim. And I'm like, what are you people talking about? Um, and, like thinking back, yeah, it's not as bad as I thought it was, but like Amazon's is much better. Yeah, it's got this weird, overly gory, quote unquote, aesthetic. Well, I guess it kind of is. Um, and this like muddied palette, but I'm like, so what, man? Fucking every show has a weird thing. Welcome to Kamen Rider. Like, literally since day one, we've had weird shit on screen. Like it's not that bad. Just watch it for the story. Yeah. Uh,
Well, that's about it.
Yeah, I know we've gotten so far off topic. Decade, anything you gonna add?
Nope. Good discussion though.
Yeah, yeah. All right. All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time. Yeah, we'll figure out what we're doing with that. Go Ranger. No, not
Go on.
go on your. Yeah, go on your 10 years after thing. We'll post something about it. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.
Thanks for listening.